Welcome to the Ultimate Sports Podcast. Today is Friday, October 11th, 2019. This is going to be a long podcast. Today, we'll go over Game 5 between the Astros and the Rays. What's next for both of those teams? Thursday Night Football between the Pats and the Giants. WNBA Finals. NFL picks. NFL picks, college football picks. NBA preseason, NHL. League Championship Series picks for baseball, and my best bet of the day. Okay, we're going to start in baseball, where the Astros defeated the Rays by a score of 6-1 to advance to the ALCS for the third straight season. Garrett Cole was just an absolute monster in that game, and he rocked and he stepped up when they needed him to step up. And he gets the win. Tyler Glass now the loss. This game kind of was over in the bottom of the first after the Astros split up a 4 spot. RBI single Jose Altuve 1-0. 2-run double Alex Bregman 3-0. RBI single Yuli Gurriel 4-0. Top of the second, home run Eric Sogard got the Rays on the board. Bottom of the 8th, home run Michael Brantley, 5-1. Home run Jose Altuve, 6-1. That was your final. Cole's stat line: 8 innings, 2 hits, an earned run, 2 walks, 10 strikeouts. He was phenomenal. Ozuna closing it out, pitched the 9th inning and struck out 1. Meanwhile for Tampa, Tyler Glass now 2 2/3 innings, 5 hits, 4 runs, no walks, 3 strikeouts. Blake Snell, an inning in the third, no hits, no runs, no walks, no strikeout. Chaz Rowe, 2/3 of an inning. Ryan Yarbrough walked the batter. He was out of the game. Didn't even record an out. Nick Anderson, an inning in a third and 2 strikeouts. Diego Castillo, a third of an inning, a hit and a strikeout. Colin Pache, an inning in a third of an inning and the strikeout. Emilio Pagan, 2/3 of an inning, 2 hits, 2 runs, a walk and a strikeout. And Brendan McKay, 2/3 of an inning and a strikeout. Rays, they had a phenomenal season. Kevin Cash should be in the conversation for the American League Manager of the Year. This team, to me, its future is bright. Hopefully their starting pitching stays healthy. To me, a couple of their young guys have to develop more. Like they have Brent Honeywell, who has been dealing with some injury problems. Maybe he develops next year. Brendan McKay is somebody that they need to develop. And imagine those two with Morton, Snell, and Glass now. That's a nice rotation there. Their bullpen's very good. We learned that about them this year. So I think they're good there. I think they need a bat or two to really make themselves a legit offense that could be dangerous. They need to upgrade at catcher, as well as a year Darno had. He, to me, is a one-year wonder. Austin Meadows is a keeper. Tommy Pham's a keeper. Jai-Man Choi is a little erratic to me. He's more of a bench player than he is a real first baseman. Nate Lau is somebody that really showed promise for them at first base. Brandon Lau's better than Eric Sogard at second base. Avisail Garcia, good veteran. They can upgrade at third base. Wendell really isn't all that great. Kevin Kiermaier, defensive specialist, and even can show some flashes offensively. And Willie Adames is somebody that showed a lot of promise in this series, and he's going to be a popular breakout player coming into the 2020 season. So I think the Rays are in good shape long term. I don't know if they can challenge the Yankees in the American League East next year, but they can if they add a couple more bats. Upgrades in the infield and at catcher would help the Rays if they want to make the AL East interesting with the Yankees. And then the Astros, speaking of the Yankees, that's their next opponent. This is what everybody wanted, something that felt inevitable since March. We all kind of saw it coming in the preseason too, because a lot of people, including myself, thought the Red Sox would be worse. That proved to be true, but nobody had them missing the playoffs per se. And the Central winner None of us in the media and podcasters and bloggers thought that they really were as good as the Yankees or the Astros, and that proved to be right. And here we are. It all starts tomorrow night, and we'll pick the series and Game 1 coming up later on in the podcast. Thursday night football. The Patriots defeat the Giants 35-14. I think the final score is decisive and was closer than it said because the Patriots put up a couple garbage time touchdowns late. Their defense was the MVP this game, forcing 4 turnovers. It certainly didn't help that the Giants were missing Evan Ingram, Sterling Shepard, and Saquon Barkley. The Pats go to 6-0. The Giants are 2-4. Tom Brady, 31-41, 334 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns and a pick. Daniel Jones, 15-31, 161 yards, a touchdown, and 3 interceptions. And some of those picks weren't his fault because he didn't have most of his offense. First quarter, 6-yard block punt return for touchdown by Chase Winovich, and the punt was actually blocked by a player on the Giants. That was very embarrassing. 7-0 Pats. Second quarter, Brandon Bolden 1-yard touchdown run, 14-0 Pats. Jones to Tate, 64 yards, 14-7. That was a lucky touchdown. Good throw by Jones, but it was lucky in the sense that Golden Tate had to bobble it a couple times to catch it and return it for a touchdown. And then the Giants tie the game at 14 apiece on a Marcus Golden 42-yard fumble return. Then right before halftime, Tom Brady runs it in for a yard, 21-14. No scoring in the third. Fourth quarter with 8 minutes to go. Kyle Van Noy, 22-yard fumble return, makes it 28-14. Then a questionable decision by Pat Shurmur, punting on 4th and 2, down 2 scores with about 7 minutes to go instead of going for it. I'm not suggesting that cost the Giants the game single-handedly, but that was a bad move, and I'm not defending Pat Shurmur. I don't think he's a good coach, and I said this multiple times on the podcast. But I don't think the Giants were winning the game regardless if they got that 4th down or not. And I think he saw reality there and not necessarily quit on the game like many people said he did. I just think that he saw reality of what if Daniel Jones throws an interception on 4th and 2nd, or we get the 4th down and we just can't come back because the Patriots defense is so good. He probably saw it that way too, which I'm not going to say I'm going to defend him for it, but like I could see that, especially against the best defense in the league. It was just to me very unlikely that the Patriots would give up 2 touchdowns in a 7-minute span. Although they did it in the first half, but let's face it, those were 2 lucky plays, a fumble and then that lucky catch by Tate. So you can make a case this should have been a shutout. I'm sorry. And to put the game away, Tom Brady 1-yard run to make it 35-14 with 3:49 to go. And Patriots next up for them. They are playing the Jets on Monday Night Football, so another primetime game against a bad New York football team. The Giants next week host the Cardinals in a Sunday afternoon game. And so it would be Daniel Jones against Kyler Murray, so that should be entertaining. All right, next up, hockey. We had a big slate last night. Going to go over the results. Red Wings over the Canadiens 4-2. A very impressive win for the Detroit Red Wings. That was finally a losing streak that the Red Wings ended. They lost 9 in a row against the Canadiens. So they finally get the Canadiens. They're 3-1-0. Montreal's 1-1-2. Number 1 started the game with a goal, Anthony Mantha. Number 2 started the game with a goal, Joel Armia. Number 3 started the game with 33 saves on 35 shots, Jonathan Bernier. Lightning over the Maple Leafs 7-3. That's a statement win for the Lightning. They're 2-1-1. Toronto's 2-2-1. Number 1 started the game with 2 goals and 2 assists. Nikita Kucherov. Number 2 started the game, a goal and 3 assists. Steven Stamkos. Number 3 started the game with 2 goals and assists. Braden Point. Oilers over the Devils 4-3 in a shootout. Edmonton 4-0-0. New Jersey 0-2-2. Number 1 started the game with the goal, Leon Draisaitl. Number 2 started the game with the goal and assist, Connor McDavid. Number 3 started the game with the goal, Nikita Gusev. The Penguins over the Ducks 2-1. Ducks finally suffer their first loss. They're now 3-1 on the season. Pittsburgh's 2-2. Number 1 star of the game with the goal and assist, Sidney Crosby. Number 2 star of the game with 31 saves on 32 shots, Matt Murray. Number 3 star of the game with 26 saves on 28 shots, John Gibson. Blues over the Senators 6-4. The Blues are 3-0-1. Ottawa 0-3-0. Number 1 star of the game with 2 goals, David Perron. Number 2 star of the game with a goal and 3 assists, Ryan O'Reilly. Number 3 star of the game with the goal, Vitaly Abramov. The Jets defeat the Wild 5-2. The Jets are 3-2. Minnesota 0-3. Number 1 star of the game with 2 goals and 2 assists, Patrick Laine. Number 2 star of the game with the goal and assist, Blake Wheeler. Number 3 star of the game with 38 saves on 40 shots, Connor Hellebuck. Predators over the Capitals 6-5. Good come-from-behind win for Nashville. They're 3-1. Washington's 2-1-2. Number 1 star of the game with the goal, Matthias Elko. Number 2 star of the game with 2 goals, Ryan Johansson. Number 3 star of the game with the goal and assist, Matt Duchene. Sharks over the Blackhawks 5-4 to finally get their first win. They're 1-4-0. Chicago's 0-2-0. Number 1 star of the game with 2 goals, Patrick Marleau in his return games to the Sharks. Number 2 star of the game with 2 goals, Andrew Shaw. Number 3 star of the game with assists, Logan Couture. Flames over the Stars 3-2 in a shootout. Calgary 2-1-1. Dallas won 3-1. Number 1 star of the game with 34 saves on 36 shots, David Rittich. Number 2 star of the game with an assist, Mikael Backlund. Number 3 star of the game with a goal, Joel L. Esperance. The Avs defeated the Bruins 4-2 as the Avalanche go to 3-0-0. Boston drops to 3-1. Number 1 star of the game with 39 saves on 41 shots, Philip Garbauer. Number 2 star of the game with a goal, Alex Burakovsky. Number 3 star of the game with a goal and an assist, David Pasternak. Coyotes over the Golden Knights 4-1 as Vegas is dealt their second straight loss. They dropped to 2-2. Arizona gets their first win. They're now 1-2. Number 1 star of the game for the Coyotes with 2 goals, Connor Garland. Number 2 star of the game with 37 saves on 38 shots, Darcy Kemper. Number 3 star of the game with an assist, Barrett Hayton. 3 games on the slate tonight. 7 o'clock, the Panthers at the Sabres. Ducks at the Blue Jackets, and 7:30, the Islanders at the Hurricanes. So a small slate for tonight. The WNBA season is finally over. The Mystics defeated the Suns 89-78 to win their first WNBA championship in franchise history. Emma Messerman, who got the finals MVP, 22 points off the bench with 3 assists and 3 rebounds. Elena Delle Donne, 21 points and 9 boards. Nikita Cloud and Christy Tolliver, 18 each. So a good all-around effort for Washington. Meanwhile, for Connecticut, Courtney Williams had 16. Jaquel Jones had 25 with 9 boards. Alyssa Thomas had 21 points, 12 boards, and 6 assists. So the big 3 for the Suns showed up, but the rest of the team did not. So congratulations to the Mystics. Great season. I think the Sun had a great year as well. I think both of these teams should be contenders again going into next season. And Elena Delle Donne, this really cements her legacy in the WNBA. She really has accomplished everything in her WNBA career. MVP award, a couple big buzzer beaters in her career, and now she finally has that elusive first championship. I know she carried the Sky to the WNBA finals back when she was still a member of that team, but they ended up losing, I believe it was to the Lynx. And now she finally has her ring. I'm really, really happy for her. And she is the best player in the world right now, by the way. As well as Emma Messerman played in the series and won the MVP of the series. I just think that Delle Donne's the best basketball player in the world in terms of women. And she's somebody that I think is going to be a good player for a long time in the league. NBA preseason. A couple games yesterday. The Thunder defeated the New Zealand Breakers by a score of 110-84. Steven Adams had 19 points for Oklahoma City. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander had 18. Off the bench, Mike Muscala had 10. Chris Paul only had 6. The Blazers defeated the Maccabi Haifa 104-68. Fernie Simmons had 22 points for the Blazers. Zach Collins had 16. The two big stars, McCollum and Lillard, did not play in this game. The Kings defeated the Suns 105-88. De'Aaron Fox had 18. Marvin Bagley had 12 of 13 boards. Buddy Hield had 14, so their big three stepped up in the preseason. Rashawn Holmes off the bench had 11. Bojan Bogdanovic had 12 off the bench. Yogi Ferrell had 14 off the bench. The Kings are actually a pretty deep team on paper in terms of names and possible production. DeAndre Ayton, 10 points. Devin Booker, 18 points. And off the bench for the Suns, Javon Carter had 16. The Warriors defeated the Timberwolves 143-23. Stephen Curry, 40 points in the preseason. D'Angelo Russell had 16. Glenn Robinson III had 13 off the bench. Eric Pascal had 11. Jordan Poole had 19. Meanwhile, for Minnesota, Andrew Wiggins had 13. Karl Anthony Towns only had 9. Jeff Teague had 13. Off the bench, John Layman had 17. Naz Reid had 14. Shabazz Napier had 11. Jarrett Culver had 17. The Nuggets defeated the Clippers 111-91. The Clippers had Kawhi make his debut yesterday. Nikola Jokic, 10 and 11. Paul Millsap had 13. Will Barton only had 7. Jamal Murray only had 9. Gary Harris only had 4. Off the bench, Michael Porter Jr. had 12. Shot 6 for 7. And Malik Beasley had 16. Meanwhile, for the Clippers, Leonard only had 7 points, but had 6 assists. He's passing well. Montrezl Harrell led 15 with 7 boards. Landry Shamet had 11. Lou Williams had 13. Off the bench, Ivica Zubac had 10. Today's games, or I should say tonight, 7 o'clock, the Bulls at the Pacers, Celtics at the Magic, Cavs at the Pistons, 76ers at the Hornets, Wizards at the Knicks, NBA TV, Jazz at the Pelicans, so Zion's home preseason debuts on NBA TV. And 8:30, the Bucks against the Mavericks. All right, now we move on to picks. And we are going to start in college football. And we're going to start with tonight's games. They are 3 of them on the slate. A couple big ones and one in the Mountain West. We're going to start with the big one. Virginia at Miami. Miami is laying 2. The over-under is 43.5. You ask me, how in the world are the Miami Hurricanes favored in this game? They had an embarrassing loss to Virginia Tech, and Virginia Tech was embarrassed by Duke a few weeks ago. This makes no sense. Give me Virginia. They're the better team, better quarterback. Miami's starting their backup quarterback, so I don't understand why in the hell they're favored. Give me Virginia getting the 2. They're going to win the game on the field. They're going to win this game by double digits. They might win this game by 20. They're plus 107 on the money line, and you're going to be saying to yourselves, why the hell did Vegas make Miami favored? That team's terrible. And it'll show why in this game. And if Miami wins this game, well done. And then it shows that possibly Virginia's overrated. So, that's another thing that's going to happen if Miami wins. Colorado against New Mexico State. New Mexico State is getting 40 over under 65.5. This is another questionable line to me. I know New Mexico's been a massive disappointment this year, but Colorado State sucks. Let's be realistic here. I thought they were going to be terrible before the year. And I thought New Mexico was going to challenge for a bowl, but I've been wrong so far. I think New Mexico wins the game on the field. They're plus 155 on the money line. But the pick for this game is going to be the over 65.5. I think this is a shootout. Colorado State overs have been a trend this season, although it did not work out for me last week when they played San Diego State. Well, that's because San Diego State's a good defensive team. But you know who sucks defensively? The New Mexico Lobos. So, give me the over 65.5 in this game, although I think New Mexico will win the game on the field in terms of straight-up pick. 10 o'clock, Colorado at Oregon. Oregon's laying a massive 21.5. The over-under is 60. Getting 3 touchdowns in the hook is a steal for Colorado. Oregon shouldn't be this big of a favorite against really any of their conference opponents except for maybe UCLA and Oregon State. Like, come on now. I think Oregon is very overvalued. We even learned that last week. And I said that last week because of Cal's ability to stay in games because of their defense. Colorado is a team, in my opinion, that is capable of staying in games because of their offense. And I think one of the more overrated units in college football is Oregon's defense, although it showed well against Stanford. It showed very well against Cal. Granted, those are 2 very bad offensive teams. But Colorado's good offensively, and I think they're going to expose the weakness of the Ducks, which is their defense. I think Oregon wins on the field, but it won't be more than 3 touchdowns. I'm going to say Oregon can win this game like 38-24, and that would still qualify for me as the Buffalo's getting the 21.5. So I think that's just a big steal there. To the Saturday games. We're going to start with Rutgers at Indiana. Indiana's laying 27.5. The over-under is 49.5. I'm laying it with the Hoosiers. Rutgers right now is an auto bet. I know you're saying to yourself, Indiana shouldn't be this big of a favorite over anybody, but it's Rutgers. Rutgers is terrible. We all know that. So give me Indiana minus the 27.5 here to beat Rutgers by a score of perhaps like 40-7, something similar to what Maryland did to them last week. Next up, South Carolina at Georgia. Georgia is laying 23.5 points. The over-under is 52.5. I like the over here because South Carolina is a team that can score points. It scares me that the quarterback is not playing for them in this game a lot, but I just think that number is low. And here's the other thing. South Carolina's defense is bad. So I could see Georgia putting up 45 points by themselves. And let's say South Carolina puts up 13. And 45 plus 13 is 58. That qualifies as an over. Oklahoma at Texas, the Red River game. Oklahoma's laying 10.5. The over-under is 75.5. I think Oklahoma wins the game on the field simply because they're a better team than Texas. And they have the better quarterback in Jalen Hurts. Well, I should say the quarterback that's playing better right now. But give me Texas getting the 10 in the hook. I just think this game's very competitive. Texas always is competitive with Oklahoma and has been really since Tom Herman's been there. So give me Texas getting the 10 in the hook, and I think Oklahoma wins this game by a score of 40-33. Maryland at Purdue. Purdue is getting 3 points. The over-under is 54. This line opened up at Maryland as I believe it was a 4.5 or 5 point favorite. Trying to look on my sheet here in front of me. And they opened as a 5 point favorite, and it went down to 3. Give me the plus 3 at Purdue. I'm getting value here because the juice is on Maryland at minus 115. The plus 3 is minus 106. Purdue's plus 130 on the money line. So give me Purdue getting the 3. They'll win the game on the field in a game that they absolutely have to have. Michigan at Illinois. Illinois is getting 23. The over-under is 49.5. A popular trend early on this season have been Illinois overs. I'm taking it again. Last week was a push. I think it goes over this time. I won't be shocked if they hang around with Michigan because I think Michigan might be peeking ahead to their Penn State game. So getting the 23 with Illinois is awfully enticing. So give me the over 49.5. I think potentially Michigan can go over by themselves, but I don't know if they will. I'm going to say that Michigan wins this game by a score of 38-20, so that would qualify as an over for 49.5, and I do think Michigan will obviously win the game on the field. Memphis at Temple. Temple's getting 5.5. The over-under is 49.5. Temple 5.5 is a steal. That's one of my best 5 picks of the week in terms of college football. And not only that, they're winning the game outright. Plus 165 on the money line. Trap game for Memphis. They're newly ranked, and Temple's going to give it to them. So Temple wins on the field. We don't even need the 5.5. Middle Tennessee. Mississippi State at Tennessee. Tennessee's getting 7. The over-under is 52. This is another dog I really, really like. Tennessee's getting 7. I'll take that. I think they win the game outright, too. They're plus 210 on the money line. I think that Tennessee is a team that is just due to win a conference game at home as an underdog. This is it. I think Mississippi State is fraudulent. I think this team is a little overrated, if you ask me. And it'll show here. Give me Tennessee getting 7. That's a steal. And I think they win the game outright. I think the quarterback change helps Tennessee, not hurts them. And it kind of showed last week against Georgia that they had some fight in them. But Tennessee's the play here. Toledo at Bowling Green. Toledo's laying 26.5. The over-under 65.5. I like the over here in this spot. I obviously think Toledo wins the game, but over 65.5 is the right side here, in my opinion. I just think that Bowling Green is bad defensively. They're not good offensively that much either, but I just think that Toledo is going to keep scoring and scoring, and I think 50-17 can get it done, so it would hit the over by a half point, and I think that final score is very realistic. And by the way, this opened at 64. It's up to 65.5. So give me the over in Toledo Bowling Green. And by the way, 50-17 would mean a point and a half, not a half point. Western Michigan hosts Miami of Ohio. Western's laying 13. The over under 57.5. I like Miami of Ohio getting the 13. I think that's a big number. I think that this line should be closer to like 10, because I think Miami of Ohio is a team that really has shown me something this year. They beat Buffalo, and take away that Ohio State game anyway, except for that. They've really kind of been feisty. I think they cover here, and I think it's potentially a one-score game come the end of the game. So give me Miami of Ohio getting 13, although Western wins on the field. 12:30 of Georgia Tech at Duke. Duke's laying 17. The over-under is 49.5. Tough one here. I'm going to take the minus 17. Do I feel good about it? Absolutely not, because that just screams push. But I'm avoiding the over-under because I don't really have a feel for over-unders involving Duke. And Georgia Tech, to me, is more of like an under team, especially on offense. But I like the 17. I think that Duke wins this game, like, let's say like 30-7 or something like that. I could see that. 2 o'clock, Ball State at Eastern Michigan. Eastern's laying a point and a half. The over-under is 57.5. I'm still not buying Ball State. Ball State was actually favored a couple days ago, and now it's switched over to Eastern. So give me Eastern Michigan minus the point and a half. They're the better team. Ball's due for a letdown after their upset win over Northern Illinois. 2:30 Old Dominion at Marshall. Marshall's laying 15.5. The over-under is 47. Give me Marshall laying the points. They're just better than Old Dom. Old Dom let me down last week by laying an egg against Western Kentucky. So give me Marshall minus the 15.5. Doc Holliday's going to have his team ready to go. 3 o'clock, New Mexico State at Central Michigan. Central's laying 10. The over-under is 58. New Mexico State overs have been a trend early on. Didn't work for me last week against Liberty. I think it'll work for me here. Central Michigan is a vanilla defense, and I think this game is going to be super duper high scoring. Central is a team that can score, and they showed that in their upset win over Eastern Michigan. I believe that was last week. I'm not so sure. Yeah, it was last week. So give me the over in New Mexico State, Central Michigan. It opened at 57. It's up to 58. 3:30 Michigan State at Wisconsin. Wisconsin's laying 10.5. The over-under is 40.5. I love Sparty getting the 10.5. I think there's value here. Wisconsin, to me, is a team that I think is going to be looking ahead a little bit and kind of just forgot that Sparty exists. Sparty let me down last week by giving up that cover late. So give me Michigan State getting 10.5. I'm going to go back to the wishing well. I think Wisconsin wins the game, but Michigan State covers. I think this is like a 24-16 Wisconsin victory. Alabama at Texas A&M. Bama's laying 17. The over-under 61. One of my best plays of the week is the over 61. It was at 61.5. It dropped a half point for whatever reason. Alabama overs have been a popular trend in conference play, as we saw against South Carolina and we saw against Ole Miss. I think that Tua Tagovailoa is going to sling it around to Jerry Jeudy and Devontae Smith, and the running game's going to be involved. I think Kellen Mond will put up some points for Texas A&M as well. So I can forecast like a 45-20 type of ball game here with Bama winning, obviously. Florida State at Clemson. Clemson's laying 27. The over-under is 59.5. Clemson's coming off their bye, but they really have not shown to be the best team in the country like everybody thought they'd be. Trevor Lawrence has been somewhat of a disappointment this year. So give me Florida State getting the points. Back doors open. I think Clemson wins, but 27 is too large of a number for me. I think that this is like a 36-17 type of game. Washington State at Arizona State. Arizona State's laying a point. The over-under is 59.5. Give me Wazoo getting the point. I think they win the game on the field. Just feels right for Washington State. They've lost a couple in a row. I think they finally get right here and bounce back at home. Or, I'm sorry, on the road. What am I saying? But I'm just not impressed with Arizona State, and I think Wazoo's clearly the better team. They have the better offense. So, give me Washington State getting the point there in what should be a competitive game, nonetheless. Cincinnati at Houston. Houston's getting 7. The over-under is 51.5. I love Houston plus 7. Classic letdown spot for Cincinnati after the big win over UCF. They're finally ranked. Not only is Houston going to cover the 7, by the way, juice on Cincinnati, minus 115. The plus 7 is 106. Houston's winning the game outright. They're plus 225 on the money line. I think a sneaky money line play for the weekend is to parlay Houston and Temple, who are both going to pull off big upsets this week. So this is another one of my best plays. Houston getting 7 against Cincinnati. BYU at South Florida. BYU is laying 5.5. The over-under is 50. Give me BYU laying the points. I think South Florida is a team outside that UConn game just has not been all that impressive. I think this spot for BYU is pretty good, and they finally get some get right here after a couple tough losses. So give me BYU minus the 5.5. I do think this is a competitive game throughout, but I just think that they win a like 33-24 type of ball game. Kent State at Akron. Kent's laying 14.5. The over-under is 57. Kent State should not be this big of a favorite against anybody, so that's why Akron getting 14.5 is so enticing. But give me the over 57. I think that both of these teams are going to score. Both of these teams obviously have vanilla defenses. It went up a point. It was 56. Now it's 57. So give me the over. I'm going to take Kent State to win on the field, but I don't feel good about it at all. So give me over 57 and with Kent getting the win. Northern Illinois at Ohio. Ohio's laying 6.5. The over-under is 51.5. Give me Northern Illinois plus the points. I think this is a good bounce-back opportunity for them. Do I think they won the game on the field? Maybe. But I just like them getting the 6.5 here. I do think Ohio will win. I just think it's a field goal game, not a 6 or 7 point game. So, give me Northern Illinois getting the 6.5. Ohio wins the game on the field. Let's say that's like a 33-30 type of game. UConn at Tulane at 345. Tulane's laying 34. The over-under is 57.5. Give me the over here. UConn's allergic to defense. We saw that against South Florida. Tulane's a team that can score. And I think that this game could be a similar final score to the one we saw in South Florida UConn last week. So give me the over 57.5 with Tulane obviously winning the game on the field. 4 o'clock, Texas Tech at Baylor. Baylor's laying 11. The over-under is 58. I want to take Tech getting the 11, but their starting quarterback, Alec Bowman, is out. So the better play here is the over 58. I just think that both of these teams are going to score, even though that Tech doesn't have their quarterback. But I think that Matt Wells will get his team ready to go. Although they're coming off the upset win, and Baylor's the newly ranked team. So that's another reason why I kind of want to stay away, because I love picking against newly ranked teams, but I also love picking against the team coming off the upset win. So that's why the point spreads will stay away. So I'm going to go with the total and take the over 58. I think Baylor could win this game something like a 42-28 or something like that. Iowa State at West Virginia. Iowa State's laying 10.5. The over-under is 53.5. West Virginia, I took getting 10.5 last week. It bit me in the ass because their kicker missed a bunch of field goals. Although the line was at 11.5. So if you got West Virginia getting 11.5 rather than 10.5, you won. I should have won last week, the Mountaineers. I'm going back to the well and taking them again against the spread. Iowa State is a very good team, but I just think that they're going to be looking ahead a little bit here, similar to Texas was last week in the same spot. So give me West Virginia getting the 10.5, although the juice is on them at minus 112. I think Iowa State wins the game on the field. I'm going to say they win by a score of like 42-34 or something like that. UNLV at Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt is laying 14.5. The over-under is 57. I love UNLV getting those points. I just think that Vanderbilt is arguably the worst team in the SEC East. It's either them or Tennessee. This week, I think it'll be Vanderbilt. I think Vanderbilt will probably win the game, but UNLV getting to 14.5, although the juice is on it at minus 114, is pretty sexy. So give me UNLV getting the 14.5. I think that Vandy wins the game. Something like 38-26. San Jose State, Nevada. Nevada's laying 2.5. The over-under is 59.5. I'm still fading San Jose State. Yeah, they just beat New Mexico, but I think New Mexico is not as good, obviously. And who knows, it might even show tonight. But I still think San Jose State stinks. I know I took Nevada laying the short number against Hawaii a few weeks ago, bit me in the ass. I'm doing it here, too. So give me Nevada minus the 2.5. They're just a better team than San Jose State. It's plain and simple, just like that. Middle Tennessee at Florida Atlantic. FAU's laying 10.5. The over-under is 63. I'm taking Florida Atlantic laying the 10.5. I think Middle can keep it close for a little while, but I just think that FAU wins this game like 40-26. Georgia State at Coastal Carolina. Coastal's laying 40 over under 63.5. Georgia State was getting 6.5 earlier in the week. Now it's down to 4. I actually do think they're going to win the game outright. They're plus 148 on the money line. So give me Georgia State plus the 4 here. And I do think they win the game on the field as well. And that's a 5 o'clock game. 6 o'clock. UAB at UTSA. UAB is laying 12. The over-under is 46.5. I'm taking UAB minus the 12. The Roadrunners are not a good team. They just won last week because they're just a better team than UTEP. They're not a better team than UAB. Give me UAB minus the 12. I think UAB is a team that people kind of underrated before the year, starting to show here a little bit. So give me UAB minus 12. I think they could win a game here like 42-20. I do think that it could be that, or it could be lower scoring than that, like 32-10 even. Ole Miss at Missouri at 7 o'clock. Ole Miss is getting 12.5. The over-under is 55.5. Give me the over 55.5. I think both of these teams are allergic to defense, and they'll score. Ole Miss's D actually showed some improvement last week, but that was against the Vanderbilt team that really isn't as good offensively as Missouri is, and it looks like Kelly Bryant's going to play. I think this is a shootout throughout, so the plus 12.5 is intriguing too. But give me over 55.5. I think Missouri wins this game, like, let's say like 40-28 or something like that. So give me the over 55.5. Fresno State at Air Force. Air Force is laying 3.5. The over-under is 50.5. Give me Fresno State getting the 3.5. It's minus 114. I think they win the game outright. They're plus 135. I like Air Force, and this is an obvious bounce-back spot coming off a loss against Navy. But I think Fresno State is undervalued. This was a team that I thought was going to be good before the season, although they lost a lot of pieces from last year's team. And I just think that they finally are going to come out and play well and get a win in conference play. So give me Fresno getting to 3.5. They win the game on the field. UMass at Louisiana Tech. L Tech laying 31.5. The over-under 63. Give me La Tech laying the 31.5. I think UMass is dreadful. UMass over cost me last week. I'm not going back in that one. I'm just going to bet against them ATS. So give me La Tech, and I think that this could be a bigger beating than the one UMass took last week against a much worse FIU team. North Texas at Southern Miss. Southern Miss is laying 3. The over-under is 58.5. This one was tough for me. I think Southern Miss will win the game, although I think North Texas has a legit chance. But I like the over 58.5. These are two really good offenses. I think this is a close game throughout. This just screams push to me, so that's why I'm avoiding the point spread. So give me the over 58.5. And I think it'll be a very hard-fought game. I think that both these offenses are very good. I think Mason Fine's probably the best player in this game, but I think that Southern ends up winning the game, and I just like the over 58.5. Charlotte against FIU. FIU is like 4.5. The over under 60.5. I like Charlotte getting the 4.5. I think they win the game outright. They're plus 155 on the money line. I got them at 5.5. Went down to 4.5. It probably went down because Stanford Steve has been screaming Charlotte outright all week, and I agree with him. So give me Charlotte getting the 4.5. I think they win the game outright. I'm not a fan of this FIU team. Army at Western Kentucky. Army's only 4.5. The over under is 43. Western Kentucky is a popular underdog pick. I get it because they've been a great underdog all year. But I just think Army's the better team. Situational bounce-back spot for them. Coming off a loss, Western Kentucky coming off a win. These are my favorite types of situations. So give me Army minus 4.5. Shout out to Nick Costos, who absolutely loves the bounce-back situations for teams that are playing against a team that's coming off a good win. So give me Army minus 4.5 here to get themselves off the schneid a little bit and remind people that they're one of the more underrated teams in the country. 7:30 USC at Notre Dame. Notre Dame's laying 10.5. The over-under is 59.5. Give me the points with Notre Dame. The juice is on USC in the 10.5. It's minus 113. Notre Dame minus 10.5 is minus 108. The over is intriguing too. But Notre Dame's defense has really shown some improvement this year, especially against good opponents. You saw it against Georgia. You saw it against Virginia. I think you could potentially see it here against USC as well. So give me Notre Dame minus 10.5. I think Notre Dame wins this game like 35-23 or something like that, and that'll be a barely cover. Penn State at Iowa. Iowa is getting 3.5. The over-under is 42.5. This line's about to drop to 3. The juice is on Iowa getting the 3.5. It's minus 125. I love Iowa. They're winning the game outright. Plus 143 on the money line. I got it for it's down to 3.5. They're winning the game outright. One of my best plays of the weekend. So give me Iowa getting the 3.5. They win outright to deal Penn State their first loss of the season. Nebraska at Minnesota. Nebraska's getting 7.5. The over-under is 50. Give me Nebraska getting the points. The over 50 is intriguing as well, but Minnesota's very fraudulent. I think they're the most fraudulent unbeaten in the country. If they win this game, I can't wait to bet against them in their next game. So, give me Nebraska getting the 7.5. I do think Minnesota wins, but I just love the hook there with Nebraska. I think that Minnesota can win by 7, and that would mean Nebraska would still cover. So, I think Minnesota wins the game like 34-27. That would qualify as a Nebraska cover. 7:30 Louisville at Wake Forest. Louisville's getting 7.5. The over under 65. I love Louisville getting the points. The juice is on them at minus 130. I think it'll drop again. I got it at 6.5. It went up to 7.5 for whatever reason. I guess sharp people like Wake Forest. But no, Wake Forest is a newly ranked team. So, auto bet. Take Louisville getting to 7.5. Will Louisville win the game outright? I think it's possible, but I'm not banking on it. I do think Wake wins on the field, but Louisville getting the points is very enticing. So give me Louisville plus the 7.5, as I think they'll cover the point spread. I'm going to say Wake Forest wins this game like 38-33. Navy at Tulsa. Tulsa's getting 1.5. The over-under is 54. Another home dog I like is Tulsa getting the 1.5. They win the game on the field. Minus 121. The juice is on them, though. So that means the line's going to drop to probably Tulsa getting a point. And I think eventually it will be a pick'em. Maybe Tulsa will be favored at kickoff. So give me Tulsa getting the 1.5. I think they win the game on the field. Minus 106 on the money line, by the way. Arkansas, Kentucky. Kentucky's laying 6.5. The over-under is 53.5. Give me the over. I think that both of these teams are going to score. And I think Arkansas's offense has shown some improvements of late. Kentucky, obviously missing their quarterback, but they're a team that can score. So give me the over 53.5. And I think this is obviously a shootout. Florida at LSU at 8 o'clock on ESPN. This is the game of the week. Game day's there. Kirk Herbstreit, Chris Fowler, Chris Felica, Maria Taylor, Tom Rinaldi. The whole crew's there. LSU's laying 13.5. The over-under is 55.5. I love LSU laying the points. I love it. This is the perfect opportunity for LSU to show the country that they are right there with Georgia as the challenger to Alabama in the SEC. I think Florida is a team that obviously has a good defense, so that's why under 55.5 is intriguing. But I do like Joe Burrow. He's the best player on the field in this game. This could be his Heisman breakthrough game if he makes some plays here and has a good statistical game. But Florida's D is really good, though. But I do like LSU. I think they win this game. I could see like 33-13. That would still work for an under. 33-16. But yeah, they'll cover the number. I just think that they win. I like the 33-16 call. Let's go with that. That would mean that they win by 17 points. So give me LSU minus the 13.5 as Joe Burrow makes a bit of a Heisman statement here in prime time. Utah at Oregon State. Utah's laying 14.5. The over-under is 59.5. I love Utah laying the points. This is a good letdown spot for Oregon State after their big win against UCLA in conference. So give me Utah minus the 14.5. I think they get back on track here on the road. 10-15 Hawaii at Boise State. Hawaii's getting 13.5. The over-under 60.5. Everybody thinks Hawaii is a scary, dangerous underdog. I'm not one of them. Boise State is the best team in the Mountain West. They're the best group of 5 team. They might make a New Year's Six Bowl. I think it's the right call laying the points here. 13.5. The juice is on Hawaii with a plus 13.5 at minus 120. You're getting minus 103 with Boise State here, laying the 13.5. I think Boise wins this game. Let's say like 35-17. So give me Boise minus the 13.5. And 2 more to go. Wyoming at San Diego State. San Diego State is laying 3.5. The over-under is 38. That's a low total, man. But those 2 teams are the best 2 defensive teams in the Mountain West. I like San Diego State laying the 3.5. I just think they're the better team. I think that their defense will show up. Their defense might actually score some points here. I think they win this game like 24-13 or something like that. So that'd be an easy cover for San Diego State. And at 11 o'clock, you have Washington at Arizona. Washington's laying 6.5. The over-under 60. I love Washington laying the 6.5. Value's on them. Minus 105. The juice is on Zona with the plus 6.5. Minus 117. I love Washington. This reminds me of their spot that they had against BYU a few weeks ago, who's better than Arizona. So give me Washington minus 6.5. I think they win this game like 35 to, let's say, 24 or something like that. So there you go. Washington minus 6.5. That's it for college. Let's switch over to the NFL. London game, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Carolina Panthers, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Carolina is currently at 3-2. Tampa Bay is currently at 2-3. Carolina coming off a great win over Gardner Minshew and the Jags. Tampa Bay coming off just a disappointing loss against the Saints on the road in division. Carolina is only a 2-point favorite, and the juice is on Tampa getting the 2 at minus 115. I don't like the idea that Tampa only left yesterday to go to London. I think that's a big factor into that. Whoever arrives in London first has been there longer to get ready, and that's the Panthers. The coaching advantage is arguably to the Bucs with Bruce Arians, but the advantage is on offense and defense. Both are to the Panthers, so I think the Panthers win. They cover the 2. And I'm going to say the Panthers win this game by a score of 38-33 in what should be a fun, entertaining shootout game out in London. Your 1 o'clock slate, Houston at the Chiefs. Houston is getting 40. Over-under is 55.5. Houston coming off a good home win over a reeling Atlanta team, putting up a 50-burger. Chiefs coming off a dismal home loss against the Colts. Yikes. All signs point to taking the Texans getting the 4 with Patrick Mahomes banged up and whatnot. I'm going to take the 4. Do I think Houston wins the game outright? No, but I absolutely think they have a chance. But I'm actually not even going to take the plus 4. You know what I feel better about? The over 55.5. And by the way, the juice is at the under at minus 113. But Houston Chiefs over, I love. So give me the over 55.5. The juice is minus 108. I think the Chiefs win this game by a score of 34-31 on a Harrison Butker late field goal. Philadelphia at Minnesota. Minnesota's laying 3.5. The over-under is 44. Now that Philly's getting the hook, I absolutely love it. So plus 3.5 for the Eagles. I think they win the game outright. Plus 148 on the money line. Kirk Cousins against a good team is an auto bet. So give me the Eagles getting the 3.5 against the Vikings. Eagles, obviously, coming off the home win over the Jets. Minnesota coming off the win at the Giants. I think this is a good opportunity for the Eagles. They get themselves a nice win here. Seahawks at the Browns. The Seahawks are laying 2. The over-under is 46.5. Seahawks coming off that win on Thursday Night Football over the Rams. The Browns coming off a disastrous loss at San Francisco against the Niners on Monday Night Football. I love the spot for the Browns. A good bounce back spot here. They're getting 2, plus 114 on the money line. I think they win the game outright. They were favored early in the week. Now they're actually getting 2 at home. So give me the Browns plus 2. I think they win the game outright, so plus 114 on the money line. And by the way, Eagles getting 3.5 against the Vikings is one of my best plays of the week. Cincinnati at Baltimore. Baltimore's laying 10.5. The over-under is 47.5. Cincinnati coming off the dreadful Monday night loss against the Steelers. Ravens coming off a win against the Steelers too. Wait a minute. No, the Bengals are coming off the Cardinals game. My bad. Home loss against the Cardinals. Ravens coming off the loss against, or the near loss against the Steelers. Should have lost, but they won at the Steelers. They didn't cover. I think this is a nice bounce back spot here for the Ravens at home. I think they'll win the game. But I like the over 47.5. It dropped from 48 for whatever reason. But I just think that Cincinnati's defense is bad and Baltimore's offense is good. I'm going to say that the Ravens win this game 38-16. New Orleans at the Jaguars. The Jaguars are laying 1.5. The over-under is 43.5. The Saints are coming off a good win at home over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Jacksonville coming off a tough loss in Carolina against the Panthers. I think this is a good bounce back spot for the Jaguars. They're coming off a loss. The Saints are coming off a win. What do? You take the Jaguars minus 1.5. And by the way, my score prediction for the Browns-Seahawks game, I forgot to release that. I'm going to say Cleveland wins 34-27. In the Jaguars-Saints game, I think the Jaguars covered the 1.5. And I'm going to say that they win the game by a score of 24-21. Redskins at the Dolphins. Redskins coming off just a brutal loss against the Patriots. They have a new coach now in Bill Callahan. The Dolphins are coming off their bye in 2 weeks ago. They lost at home against the Chargers. Betting against the Dolphins is an auto bet. Period. End of story. I'm not taking a side in terms of a team, but I'm going to do it in terms of a total, obviously, and that is the under 41.5. I like that I'm getting the hook there. I'm going to say the Redskins win 20-16. In the 4 o'clock slate, 49ers at the Rams. Rams coming off just a heartbreaking loss in Seattle against the Seahawks. Missed field goal by Greg Zuerlein. They're now 3-2. 49ers coming off the great win over the Browns on Monday Night Football. They're now 4-0. I love the Rams. They're laying 3.5. The juice is on the 49ers getting the 3.5 with the minus 118. But you're getting value here at the Rams at minus 104. So give me the Rams minus 3.5. I think they win this game by a score of 33-26. Falcons at the Cardinals. The Falcons are laying 2.5. The over-under is 51.5. Falcons coming off the disastrous loss in Houston against the Texans. Cardinals coming off the nice win against the Bengals to get their first win of the year. I'm going against my team coming off a win, take out the team coming off the loss in the bounce back situation theory here. I just think the Falcons are a team that's quit on its head coach. I just can't pick the Falcons right now, especially as a road favorite. So give me Arizona getting the 2.5. The juice is on them at minus 112, though. I think they win the game outright. They're plus 114 on the money line. Cardinals win 26-20, and Dan Quinn will be the second head coach fired. 4:25 on CBS. Jim Nantz, Tony Romo on the call. Cowboys at the Jets. Cowboys laying 7. The over-under is 44. Cowboys coming off just an absolutely brutal home loss against the Packers in that 425 window last week with Buck and Aikman there. Jets coming off a loss in Philly against the Eagles. They're getting Sam Darnold back. Everybody thinks the Jets have a chance here to win. I'm skeptical that they can win the game, but I do think that this could be competitive throughout. The line dropped from 8.5 to 7. I think that's because of the return of Sam Darnold. I'm taking the 7 with the Cowboys. The juice is on them at -112. I think they win this game 31-17 by 2 touchdowns. Ezekiel Elliott, big game. I think their defense is better here. So give me the Cowboys minus the 7 here. 31-17 final. And that is one of my best plays, by the way. I just love the spot for Dallas. Tennessee at Denver. Tennessee's getting to the over-unders 40.5. Tennessee coming off the loss at home against the Bills. Broncos coming off their first win of the year against the Los Angeles Chargers. This is one of the take the team coming off a loss against the team coming off a win situations that I like. I like the Titans getting the 2. I think they win the game outright. I'm going to say 23-20 plus 116 on the money line. 8:20 Pittsburgh at Los Angeles Chargers. Chargers laying 6.5. The over-under is 41.5. Steelers coming off a heartbreaking overtime loss against the Ravens in the game they should have won. They're on their third-string quarterback now, Dalvin Hodges. And the Chargers coming off that home loss against the Broncos. I love the Steelers getting 6.5. There's going to be more Steeler fans here than Charger fans. Terrible towels beware. This is why I like the Steelers getting the points against the 49ers too. And it worked out for me, although the Steelers did not win outright. Them getting the points worked out, and it'll work out here. Give me Pittsburgh getting the 6.5, and that's one of my best plays of the week. And I think they win outright. Plus 235 on the money line. So this is my big underdog special of the week. So give me Steelers getting 6.5. They'll win outright. And Monday night, Green Bay hosts Detroit. Green Bay coming off the big win over Dallas. Detroit coming off their bye 2 weeks ago. They won against they lost against the Chiefs. They didn't win against the Chiefs. It felt like they won that game. They should have won that game, but they didn't. They lost against the Chiefs. I think the Lions are absolute frauds, and it'll show here on Monday Night Football. I love the Packers laying 3.5. The juice is on them at -118. A lot of people I like and respect, like Nick Costos, thinks Detroit's going to win. I disagree with him. I think that Green Bay will come out and really show something at home, and those Lambeau fans are going to go crazy. I think they win this game going away. I'm going to say 33-20 Packers, and Matt LaFleur will coach circles around Matt Patricia. And I think Patricia is a coach that I think could get fired this year. So give me Green Bay -3.5. I think it's a steal, regardless of Devontae Adams playing or not. I really like what I saw from the Packers a week ago against Dallas. I think they followed up here with the win. So give me the Packers -3.5 against the Detroit Lions. Last but not least, before Best Bet, the Baseball League Championship Series. We're going to start in the National League, and that begins tonight when the Cardinals host the Nationals in a series that I think is going to be very fun. 2 very good all-around teams. The Nationals are coming off a 5-game series win over the Los Angeles Dodgers. The Cardinals are coming off a 5-game series win over the Atlanta Braves. The Nats offense is really starting to come together with the likes of Juan Soto, Anthony Rendon, and Trey Turner. The Cardinals offense is starting to click too, led by Paul Goldschmidt, Marcell Ozuna, rookie Tommy Edman, and Yadier Molina. The Nationals starting pitching stepped up throughout the series and kept the Nats in games in which they were trailing at times, led by Max Scherzer, Steven Strasburg, Patrick Corbin, and Anibal Sanchez. The Cardinals starting pitching was very solid in the previous round, led by Miles Mikolas, Jack Flaherty, Dakota Hudson, and Adam Wainwright. The Nationals bullpen really has stepped up and got big outs, led by Sean Doolittle and Daniel Hudson, as well as starters coming in relief too. The Cardinals bullpen has had its moments throughout the previous round, but also got big outs led by Carlos Martinez, Andrew Miller, Giovanni Gallegos, and John Brebbia. The Nationals feel like a team of destiny right now, considering they had 2 big comebacks in elimination/winner-take-all games, and the fact that they finally won a playoff series. But the Cardinals have home field advantage here, despite winning less games. Hey, it just shows that winning division is important, to the Nationals. And I think their advantage in the bullpen will be the difference here, as the Cardinals will advance to their first World Series in 6 seasons. So give me the Cardinals in 7 games. The ALCS. Yankees, Astros, the one that everybody wanted, the one that everybody saw coming since March. This is the most highly anticipated series that I could remember in a very long time. The Yankees are coming off a 3-game sweep over the Minnesota Twins. The Astros are coming off a 5-game series win over the Tampa Bay Rays. The Yankees' offense is relentless, led by Aaron Judge, Giancarlo Stanton, Gleyber Torres, DJ LeMahieu, and Edwin Encarnacion. The Astros' offense is great too, led by Jose Altuve, Alex Bregman, rookie Yordan Alvarez, Michael Brantley, and Carlos Correa. The Yankees' starting pitching isn't known to give length, but it's better than it's perceived, and it showed in the previous series, led by James Paxton, Masahiro Tanaka, and Luis Severino. The Astros' starting pitching is the best in the league, led by Justin Verlander, Garrett Cole, and Zach Greinke. The Yankees' bullpen is the best in the league, led by Aroldis Chapman, Zach Britton, Adam Ottavino, Tommy Kahnle, and the occasional opener Chad Green, which I think we'll see him open a game in this series. The Astros' bullpen showed leaks in the previous series, but got away with it, led by guys like Roberto Osuna, Will Harris, Josh James, and Ryan Presley. The difference in the series is Verlander and Cole, and Verlander's owning of the Yankees, despite Verlander struggling in Game 4 on short rest. And they'll advance to their second World Series in 3 seasons in what should be a phenomenal series. Prediction, Astros in 7 games. Best bet of the day, brought to you by DraftKings. This is a lot of random plays. I'm going to go with 2 hockey underdogs in the Sabres and the Ducks. I'm going to take the over in the Islanders-Hurricanes game at 5.5. The Cardinals on the money line. The over in Colorado State, New Mexico. The Virginia money line in Colorado getting the 21.5. That's 106.67. I had a small wager on. I believe it was only like 17 cents or whatever. Payout of $18.32. That's it for the podcast today. I'll be back on Monday talking about the start of the league championship series in both the American League and the National League, college football in the NFL, NBA preseason, NHL, guess the lines for week 8 of college football, and more. Hope you guys have a great weekend, everybody.